6:30 and I leave Fisterra heading for Muxia. Probably this is going to be the hardest day of my whole Camino. For me it's quite a long day. So let's see how we go. I have to follow back the way I came into town and then head off north. This was the most meaningful ending for me on this Camino, walking along this beach. Not the lighthouse, funnily enough, out there along the coastline. This beach. I'll explain it in the blog, but it's just something special about it. This is supposedly where St. James landed to convert the Iberian Peninsula. It's full of myths and legends, and it feels like it as you walk along it. What an amazing place. Slowly climbing up the hill out of Fisterra. It's got to be 30 knots of wind, gusting 35 coming up here. I did wonder if I should stop and put my jacket on. There's a bit of a windbreak, but soon I'll be sheltered by the hill and the trees. I just get hot walking up the hill. Put the jacket on. Oh, look at that amazing view. Today is going to be an amazing walk. Look at the clouds on those hills. Can you see? I'll zoom in a bit. I'm about 5 k's out of Fisterra now, up on top of the hill, and a very pleasant path going through the forest. Still a bit of wind, except when you're down in these dips. A very pleasant walk. I'll probably take my first break in a minute, I think. Been going an hour and a half. So it's turning into a bit of a tricky day. I'll speak up because the wind is quite noisy here. So my left knee particularly has been deteriorating over the last week or so, a couple of weeks probably, and today is really getting quite painful. And of course today for me is a very long day. It's 30 k's, ups and downs, and it's sort of getting me down for a bit. But being the last day, I'm determined to get there. I just got to be sensible about how I manage it. I know what and I just mention this because this kind of stuff happens to you on Camino, and you just need to kind of work through it. So this is how I'm working through it. Worst case scenario, I get to Lires in a couple of hours and I could get a taxi to Muxia. Worst case scenario, I really don't want to do that. I know what the knee pain is, and whilst it's painful, it's not damaging. So it's bursitis under the knee, which I've had for a long time. So strapping really tightly helps, but as soon as I go on a downhill, it really gets painful. And then I start to limp. And when you limp, your gait changes, different muscles are being used. And I know from the last few days, if I limp for a while, I start to get shin splints, so I've got to avoid the limping, which is quite difficult. So that means really masking the pain with painkillers. I wouldn't normally want to do that, but because I know what the pain is, I'm not sort of too concerned that if I mask it, I'm going to cause damage. So then I've got two options. I can whack it with Panadol. I've got low dose, or not low dose, but slow release Panadols. Good and bad, because it means I can't take any more until 6 hours, and they're not that strong. So that would help take the edge off. And now I've got some super duper painkillers that my doctor gave me for this sort of situation. They can make me a little bit drowsy, so potentially I'm going to use those. And so the plan is, decision will be made at Lires on whether I continue or not. If the pain gets severe, I'm going to hit it with the strong painkillers. but prior to that I'll probably put some extra strapping on. I'll show you what I've got just out of curiosity. This will be on, so apologies for that. But I use these knee supports, which come with an elastic strap, which is quite good. But when I need really strong extra support under the kneecap there, I put tape. I put medical tape, and I do that really tight. So that'll be the first option. More and more medical tape, get it tight. Hit it with painkillers. Let's see if we can get to Muxia. The good thing is I've got accommodation booked there tonight, so there's no rush. It doesn't get dark till 10 p.m, so I've got another 11 hours. If it takes me 11 hours to get there, I've got problems. So, you know, everything's in my favour. You just got to kind of work through your options and how you're going to manage the injury and stuff like that. If it wasn't the last day of my Camino, I'd probably stop in Lires, take a short day and rest it up. Loads of, you know, Voltaren gel, stuff like that, that would help. But because it's the last day, I'm just going to push through. It kind of doesn't matter too much if I can't walk tomorrow. So let's see how we go. I'm determined to get there. So I made it to Lires and stopped at a rather nice kind of little resort place. It's got cabins over here and the river down there not far away. So an update on the knees. I strapped them up a lot tighter and that seemed to help a lot coming down the hills. I haven't resorted to painkillers yet, but I'm having a second breakfast to get lots of energy, and I reckon we'll make it to Muxia okay. And if I need to take some painkillers, I'll go for the lower powered ones. I think I don't want to mask things too much. So it's looking good. Weather's good, knees are manageable, and I'm getting a second breakfast. My first breakfast, by the way, was before they served breakfast in the hotel this morning, and I fell back on an old favourite, which was a tin of sardines and some nice wholemeal bread. That gave me plenty of energy for the morning, I can tell you. It's a really good do-it-yourself breakfast. But anyway, right now I've got bacon and eggs, so I'm going back in. So I'll leave this little oasis in Lires and head the final 15 kilometres for Muxia. This was actually the only place open in the village. The other one was closed, so this is full of pilgrims having second breakfast. Let's get on with it. Well, the route continues to be very pleasant. Through a couple of tiny villages, through the forests, mainly on roads. Quite a few pilgrims coming the other way, and going pretty well so far. It's warming up a bit, so I think there's a font in about 500 metres. I've got enough water just to get me there, but I think it'll probably do my knees good to have a good guzzle of some nice fresh water. So I look forward to that. Got a bit of logging going on here. There was actually a sawmill a few k's back where all of this was being turned into planks. I'll walk straight past it, the water font. It's just in that little niche there, and it was dry, so you can't always rely on those, unfortunately. Oh, there's a dribble coming out, but it didn't look particularly good water. A little bit overgrown. There's another one in a couple of k's, but I'll manage with what I've got. Let's continue on. I was distracted. I missed that water font. I was chatting to a very nice Irish lady, and we walked straight past her. So, oh, hang on, I want to go back and get some water. Well, it's all fast coming to an end. I've got about an hour and a half left of this Camino. It's been a long journey, almost 2 months. I haven't totted up all the distance, but I think it's about 1,200 kilometres. I think this is probably day 60, I'm not sure. I'll have a look this evening. And it's with a degree of sadness, I suppose, that I come down into Muxia. No matter how long you walk a Camino, it seems to have been for ages. You know, if you walk for a day, it seems like a week. You walk for a week, it seems like a month. You walk for 2 months, and it seems like this has been your life for quite a long time. And on the one hand, you kind of have got used to this simple life, and you want to keep doing it. But on the other hand, my body wants to go home. I don't think my knees could take much more. And I'll share in some reflections when I'm finished. But yeah, this has been a good Camino, probably the best one yet. And I'm not sure about future ones. I'll talk about that a bit more later. Oh, a tree just fell down. I presume someone's cutting them. But, I'm just thinking now about getting into Muxia, and we'll have lunch first. I've got a little apartment booked, which was very reasonable, and that's handy because I think it's got a washing machine. Oh, there's a bit of wind noise probably. So I think I'll probably go to the apartment first, dump my gear, go and have a bit of lunch, relax, and then I think I'll head out by the chapel on the rocks a little bit later, and I might hang out there at sunset. I forget how far it is from the town. I think it's only about a K. But for now, I'll just focus on keeping these knees together, getting downhill, and getting this bit completed. Almost there, a couple of Ks to go. Just around the corner, I hope. Well, here we are, finally at the end. It's blowing a bit of a gale out there at the chapel in the rocks at Muxia. So I'll shoot some video here, and then I'll share some thoughts when I get back to the apartment out of this gale, and we can put the comments over the video or something. It's great to be back here. This just feels such a cool place to finish a Camino, and it's rather like what I said about the beach at Fisterra. It's nothing about what man has made. It's just about nature, raw nature, and being close to that as you finish your Camino, whether it be on the beach or check out what it's like at the rocks here around the corner. I'm just going to go around there now. Day 60 and 1,200 kilometres of walking. Today is finally the end of my Camino. How do I even begin to summarise what the last 2 months have been like, or what some of the lessons are that I've learnt along the way? But today feels like a fitting end. I feel like I've walked enough now. I feel like I've truly found what I was seeking during this journey. And I think Muxia is the perfect place to finish this Camino. Somehow finishing a Camino in Santiago has never felt quite right for me, amidst a very touristy town and all the man-made objects that surround us, and the square, the cathedral. It somehow doesn't quite fit. So that's why I decided to walk to Fisterra. The lighthouse there didn't really seem to fit either, but what did was the beach. That final walk along the beach into Fisterra, a town steeped in myths and legends, the beach apparently where St. James came ashore, to start converting those who lived in the Iberian Peninsula to Christianity. Even further back, it was a centre of worship for pagans, for the Romans, and somehow you get a sense of that walking along the beach, and it made me realise that I think it's nature, the power of nature, the rawness of nature that provides a fitting end to a Camino. And so I really looked forward to walking to Muxia to see how that would feel. And Muxia was right. Sitting out there on the rocks, admiring the power of the waves, and then later coming back as the sun was setting into the sea, that was an outstanding and most fitting end to any Camino. But what did I learn on this Camino? Was there anything else to learn? I've walked a few. The lesson came about 2 weeks from the end. This time I had walked the Via de la Plata hoping for solitude and a chance to think. I then walked 3 days on the Camino Francis, joining up to the Camino Invierno, which again I knew was a remote Camino, and I looked forward to the solitude and the peace and the thinking time. But do you know what was the best part of this Camino? And it only came to realise when I was talking to someone at breakfast about 10 days out from Santiago. The best part of this Camino was the 3 days on the Francis, which was busier than ever. Crowded, noisy, but the energy was phenomenal. And I realised that it's the energy of those around us, the community of those around us, that really brings us joy and happiness in this world, not solitude. And so that's the lesson that I've learnt on this Camino, the lesson that I have to take home with me. Stop coming back to the Camino, Rob. What you seek is at home.